Hello a todos. Gracias por venir. Thank you for coming for our fifth Texas Latino Comic Con. The Mi Casa, the return. We're in nuestras casas, uh, and hopefully next year we'll be live. But for right now, we have a great opportunity to share some great creators, artists, innovators in the Latino comics, Latinx community, and todo. And so, for and let's go ahead and begin because I'm really excited to present our first guest, our returning guest. He is a cartoonist, creator of El Muerto, creator of so many different comics, Maniac Priest, Steve Ditko aficionado, a historical scholar in the arts, the creativity of Steve Ditko. And also, I like to think of him as a pillar of the Chicano comics, Latinx comics, Latino comics aquí. And so let's go ahead and bring him on. He is Javier Hernandez, creator of the incredibly popular El Muerto. Javier, welcome, Javi.
Wow, man, that's a nice intro to wake up to over here on the West Coast. So, hello, Hector. It's good to be here, Texas Latino Comic Con. Like you said, hopefully it's the last one virtual for all of us all this year. And come on, people, let's get back to live shows where can
Right.
meet people, sell stuff, have a good
Well,
time. But it's good to be here talking to the Texas Latino
well,
fans.
it is, especially your co-founder Latino Comics Expo, and you guys had uh, a digital show, and and so not to say that there are shows, but for us that are indies and have these great communities, we take the necessary steps to make sure that we practice our our safety.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
but originally we announced, like in the summertime, we announced we are doing a live show at Museum of Latin American Art because the numbers were getting better here in California. And then really, as soon as we announced it, a few weeks later, things started getting dicey. So we just made the difficult decision to go virtual. But like you were saying, we got so many comments through the social networks like, "Hey guys, I understand it's sad, but we understand. We're glad you're taking steps to keep everybody safe and such." So yeah, it's good to have that support. So yeah, let's next year. Let's just everybody stampede out to all the shows next year. Let's hope it's going to be better.
Right. Yeah. Especially, uh, I mean, there's so many, you know, great works that have been in developing,
Right.
especially right. And for this long time, a lot of us artists are introverts, and so we like to be in our little caves. If our art with our
Yeah.
creation, just and so I can't wait to see some of the great stories out there that have been produced. Right.
Yeah, you're
Well,
right.
this right. Okay, Javi. So usually we talk about El Muerto, amazing character. And I have a personal connection with El Muerto, noticing in 2004, 2005, and definitely giving me inspiration and las ganas,
Again.
to put in for the Peso Hero because I had him in the back burner since 2003. But I recall, talking to you on MySpace, like, hey,
Wow.
some tips, and because I was doing some storyboard work for some indie film, right? And they wanted a comic and todo eso, right? And so I'm like, oh, wow, okay, well, in El Muerto, man, that's amazing, a Latino mythological hero, right? And it kind of and I thought about Doctor Fate. I thought, Doctor
Mm.
Strange, and with especially with the Aztec mythology behind it. That's and it was very colorful. Uh, and so I reached out to you for advice. And you were very humble to answer back because I thought you were like, Mr. Hollywood here with El Muerto movie,
What? I bet you people are looking up MySpace. What is he talking about? But
right?
yeah, I've always been, if somebody has a good question, simple question, yeah, I have no problem answering it. It's it's what sometimes I get younger people write me with the real broad question like, "Hey, Mr. Hernandez, how do I make a comic?" It's like, well, we got to narrow that question down because I can't type a 10-hour answer, So, but the stuff you were asking about, yeah, I never have a problem sharing. I guess I'm just sharing my experience. It's not like you're giving out the secrets. I mean, I don't know what secrets there are. I'm just telling you what I did, how I did it, and yeah, if you go do your own thing, which
Hey,
you end up
but
doing, it's
that
great.
brings me to my next question. Is that you're also an instructor currently?
Yeah. Maybe that was a natural thing for me to move into. I've been teaching for 15 years. I teach workshops. I mean, I'm not a what do you call it, accredited teacher. I just teach my comic book art, comic book classes. But I get hired to work at schools, libraries, museums. So yeah, there's that little spark of me that does like, I don't know, passing out knowledge, or especially with younger kids, just kind of giving them a pencil and paper and just the basics and just kind of let them run. I try not to like pound in their head like all this tech. It'll be boring to them, like fifth graders. You want to keep it really broad, but really, I always try to find myself, I guess, like the cheerleader, just encouraging the people, like do whatever you want to do, right? Whatever genre or character. I'm never going to tell people do this, do that, but whatever you do, have fun with it.
Right.
Feel that do whatever you want to do. Don't listen to people tell you it's wrong or right or bad or good. As long as you feel you're doing what you want to do, that's what I do. So
Right. So
why not
do you cover the fundamentals, or do you have a specific course, or I mean steps of creation, or do they just kind of give them a template? Hey, here you go, jump in, or
what we always do, no matter what the class is, a 1 hour class, a 5 week class. I always start off the first day, the first session with we do a group comic page, 1 page comic. So I'm up at the board and I tell the students, okay, here's the first panel. Someone give me a setting. First, I have them design some characters with me, and I use these standard characters all this time. This little taco and a ghost goose and something else. So I have them draw those first, right? Like those are character design sheets, just to get them into like, oh, I designed a character. And then I say, give me a setting for the first panel. Where does the story take place? So it all comes from them. So then
right?
all the kids start screaming out, you know, outer space,
Yeah.
Egypt, a back alley. So and I pick one idea and I draw the scene and I tell them to draw it. And I go, which character should we use? They tell me which one. And then I go, what happens next? So I keep it really participatory from them. And then, you're a teacher. At first the kids are shy, but once one or two kids speak up, then 5 kids want to give an answer, like, oh, I can, he's going to pick on me. He's going to let me decide the story. So the hard
Nice.
part is picking the one idea when I hear 10 ideas. So,
Right. Right.
and then at the end of the session, we have a 1 page comic. And I always ask the kids, has anyone made a comic before? And most of them say no. So then I go, well, see, you did something for the first time ever and you made a comic page. So if you can do that, you can probably do most any of the art. So anyway,
No, I love how you scaffold them. You're scaffolding them for bigger um, ideas, right? Especially you take some of the reins off, and then they're loose in their own creation. And so, what's the age range again for
yeah, well,
some of your students?
usually I work with fourth grader. I mean, whoever hires me, right? Whatever,
Right.
if it's elementary school. But I've seen it really mostly like fourth, fifth graders, sixth graders. I do high school kids too. I get high school classes. Um, so it's the same lesson plan, but the dynamics are different because the way the
Right.
students respond or the level of storylines they come up with, whatever.
Uh,
And if it's a 5 week class, and then at that point they start developing, okay, guys, you're gonna do your own comic story now, like a little maybe 4 page mini comic, whatever. So then they have to design their own characters that they're gonna use. And I just show them principles of storytelling, like how to stage a scene, um,
yeah.
how to pace it and such. But the story ideas are always theirs, unless there's a theme. Like I'm working with a school right now here. I'm out here in LA, down by San Diego, Escondido Elementary School. They're having the students work on human rights. One of the, I think the 30 or 29 uh, universal human rights. So each student they pick the right they want to use. So I'm going to have them make a comic based on the right that they picked. So in that case, the school had a theme they wanted the students to follow, but but each one picked their own specific human right that interests them. So that's neat, right? Because you, you know, fifth graders are studying these human rights, and
Yeah.
there's going to be one or two that really are important to them. So it's a great project to be involved in.
Wow, so it sounds so inspirational. They have such a great sense of justice already,
Yeah.
right? And so it's pretty admirable.
And then one thing is, you know, for all the other instructors out there, I mean, it's probably different for you because you're full time, you have a whole day with them, but I'm only there an hour or whatever. I learned like maybe the first few classes I taught years ago, I had to retool myself. It's like, okay, you know what? I gotta be, because you don't want to bore the kids, you don't want to lose them. You know, I come in for an hour, like, who's this guy? So for me, it's part educational, obviously,
Mhm.
but it's also part performance because I'm there in front of them. So I am performing, not like a stand-up comedian,
Right.
but I try
Yeah.
to. So yeah, I'm very engaging. I'm
Yeah.
always trying to, you know, call on the students for ideas, and of course, you know, encourage them. Hey, that's great. That's great character design, whatever. So yeah,
That's
performance. It's like
hey, but you're
performance art for me.
you're a character, right? Javi, the cartoonist, or that says, sometimes we wear different masks for different situations. So
You're right.
it and especially with the age range, you do have to be very dynamic.
I learned that, and you know what? The results speak for themselves because the kids are engaged, and then the teachers always tell me after or whatever librarian like, wow, they were really into it. Like this group was really into your project. So
Nice. Well, speaking of students and inspirational, uh, I guess inspirational creators, we have a special treat. We're going to actually premiere the short film El Muerto, a Day for the Dead, and it's something that I've been holding out to share within Texas Latino Comic Con. And it doesn't get us enough praise, and it needs to be looked at a lot more. Uh, and so we're gonna premiere it here, and then we're gonna talk about it afterwards, a little bit of commentary.
wow,
And so let me go ahead and I'm gonna start sharing my
cool.
screen, and we are going to begin. El Muerto, a Day for the Dead.
My name is Diego de la Muerte, and 1 year ago, I was murdered. Sacrifices to gods I have never heard of. I was condemned to Nicar, land of the dead, to serve the Aztec gods of death. Sent there
Hey,
by
the volume's a little
called
low.
themselves Los Fuertes, in their bad desire for power. Well,
You, yeah, the volume's not coming through. You can barely hear it.
pretty pretty
Hey,
amazing, right?
we're back. Yes.
We're back. And so, when was this release?
So yeah, so the audience knows. So this is what they call a fan film. Um, they're very popular in, I guess, any genre, but especially comics, where it's literally a fan will make a short film on the comic book they like, El Muerto, Batman, whatever. Um, so I don't remember the date on this now, man. Maybe
2018
2015,
was
2018,
it?
around there. So what happened was I was getting ready to go to an Arizona comic convention. Might have been Wizard or anyway, somewhere in Arizona. And a week before, I get an email from out of the blue. It's like, "Hi, Mr. Hernandez. My name is Eligio Carlos Ramirez. I'm a filmmaker from Arizona. I made a fan film of El Muerto, and we're going to be showing it at that Arizona Comic Con next week, Memorial Day weekend." And I was like, "Well, first of all, that's great. Thank you. Second of all, I'm going to be at that Comic Con, actually." So I went to the screening. They had a little film festival Saturday night or something. Um, yeah. So this guy, call him Carlos, goes by Carlos.
Yeah.
He had just made this film on his own. Like, and I don't know what it cost, but he didn't get funding from anybody. He just made it with his friends. Very Sin City style, the graphics and
Yeah.
such. So yeah, it was great meeting them. I got there. I got there just in time. I was lost on the streets of wherever in Arizona we were, and I
Right.
got to the screening. I found my seat. I sat down, and then the film started playing, and then afterwards I went outside and met the guys, the director. Got to meet El Muerto, Jacob,
Yeah.
and one of the other actors there. Yeah, they were very excited. Like, I thought it was really cool that I was into it. I go, yeah, why wouldn't I be? I guess you you never know, right?
Right.
As the one who makes the film, like, oh, is the guy gonna get pissed off? Is he not gonna like this? It's
Yeah.
like, wow, it's flattering, and it was very fun, and the fact they put all that work into it,
Right.
yeah, they
Well,
deserve the
was he a fan before of El Muerto? I mean, or
well, he had seen the comic, one of the
okay.
comics at some point, so that's what his
Right.
reference was. But I'd never heard from him before that.
Yeah.
The fact that he went through, I don't know how long it took to make that film, but
Yeah.
he didn't tell me till
Yeah.
the week before, like,
Wow.
which I'm glad. I'm glad he didn't contact me, because he's got to make it on his own, right? Like in a vacuum, without any input from me, any not one word, I think. So it was good that it's ready to show. We'd like you to see it. I go, okay. So it just worked out. I was at that show, so it was really great.
Yeah, I mean that's a great motive for anybody, that if you want to make a film for any genre, you just do it,
Yeah.
right? It's just like comic book creation, indies, you people ask, well, what does it take to make a comic? You do it.
Las ganas.
Las ganas, or what does it take to make a movie? You just do it.
Do it.
Get
No,
some friends.
the thing about the fan film, in case people are wondering, like, how can you make a film about Batman or your character or whatever? Well, it's a fan film. So the way I'm not a lawyer, so don't take my advice, but the way this probably works is they can make the film of any character, right?
Yeah.
And they can show it, but they can't make money on it.
Right.
So they can't sell tickets to the screening. They can't sell merchandise, obviously. So and
Yeah.
then what you just showed, it's on was it Vimeo? So any of your
Vimeo.
fans right now, if they want to see it again, just go to Vimeo and look up El
Yep.
Muerto.
And we'll post the link up. We'll share the link for anybody that wants to go check it out and share it. And yeah, and so it is the season, Hallows Eve, right?
Yeah.
And I want to talk about some of your inspiration because you share a lot of your art, and I, and you also share a lot of your personal fandom, right? I noticed a post maybe a couple days ago, the old school Adams Family.
Oh yeah.
I say old school because there's so many iterations of it, right?
Yeah.
And then say maybe the original, right? The black and white. Was it early '60s or late '50s that
No, it's like it's like mid 60s,
mid '60s, right?
black and white TV show. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so you were Um, Speaking about the family dynamics that were very interesting, right?
You
Can you
know,
speak? Yeah.
growing up as a young Mexican American, watching all the American pop culture and the comics, I liked all of it. But there was something about the Adams, even like the Fantastic Four, just because you mentioned family dynamic. Like of all the superhero groups at the time when I was a kid, I liked the Avengers, X Men, Justice League, but something about the Fantastic Four I really liked. Like, oh, they're a family. They have breakfast together. They're fighting together amongst themselves, or they're fighting the bad guys. And coming from a Mexican family, like there was that extra. I guess anyone can relate to family, but being Mexicano, it's like, oh, it's like that family dynamic. So same with the Adams Family, which by the way started it was originally a comic strip. They were comic cartoons from Charles Adams back in I think the 30s and 40s in the New Yorker.
Oh wow.
So that's where the TV show came from. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's got a real long history, like you said. Um, but yeah, as a kid, I really liked the show. John Astin played Gomez Adams, and then his wife Morticia, this gothic goddess. Um,
Yeah.
they had two kids. They had an uncle. There was a grandmama. Again, there's that family dynamic. Kind of just reminded me of home life, right? And
Right.
of course, John Astin, since the character was called Gomez Adams, they decided to give him a Latino flair, right?
Hmm.
And people can criticize it. They can say he's playing a buffoon or a stereotype, but even today, but especially as a kid, I didn't know better. I thought he was
Yeah.
great because he was so unlike all the other dads on
Yeah.
TV in the 50s. They're very stiff and they come home and they keep their tie on all night. It's like,
Right.
that's so weird. Um, he was so fun loving. He'd be
Yeah.
on the floor playing with the kids, blowing up train sets. He'd be very passionate with the wife. I mean, he was actually showing amor.
Intimacy. He was intimate. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
and it
something
was
we
all
saw in our
fun.
family.
Right, right. And then, like I said, there was an uncle there. There was a grandma. Again, yeah, we had grandmas come over or aunts and uncles. Um, but also as a kid, I had seen horror movies at the time, mostly like the Universal monster horror movies, reruns and all that. Um, but I like the macabre, the fun macabre nature of Adam's Family, which later on I would see like in the Tim Burton movies. So that style of horror, well,
Yeah.
it's not, Adam's Family is not horror, but obviously has elements of it. But it's
Right.
all done very family friendly, very fun. So you can have fun with vampires and ghosts and monsters on one end,
Hmm.
and on the other end um, is the real dark,
Yeah.
frightening. It's funny. The two of the most recent films I've seen in the theater was Adam's Family 2, the cartoon,
Uh-huh.
the animated film. I just saw that the other day, and then a week or two before I saw Halloween Kills. So there's those
True
extremes, right?
extremes.
Halloween Kills, especially this new one. It's like they talk so much about the nature of evil. What Michael Myers is this black hole of just pure evil that
Right.
doesn't die. And then the Addams Family, you know, the designs are great because they're very much based on the original comic strip. Um, yeah, it had dark elements, but it was very silly and fun. And so, yeah, it's been a great two extremes. And like I said, Halloween's coming up tomorrow. It's very, very good season. I love the Halloween season, but I also love that it turns into Christmas eventually, right?
Right.
Halloween and then Thanksgiving and then Christmas. So
It is kind of almost back to back, right? Like,
it's literally the two most opposite holidays, as far as visually,
but
right?
if you bring a ask go to a point about Adam's Family, it that's one of the things that drew. I mean, I remember watching them young and watching TBS, right, and
Yeah.
seeing the Superstation, right, and so that was my world for me, and seeing like Gomez. Oh, I have a Gomez in I got Gomez in my family,
Right.
and so I connected, and then him being very affectionate, and like you said, being very playing with his kids and just and see and it was almost like a Latino family, right? Well, it's like being with family. It was like even before Ricky and Lucy, even after that, but it just felt that it was a Latino family to me.
Well, the other aspect with the Adams family too, in general, but also you can relate as a Latino, like they're in their house and their family and family members, they're normal.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't look at
yeah,
themselves like ghouls. It's the neighborhood, the community, the the straights, the uptight people
yeah.
who look at them all like you guys are weird, you guys are strange. So again, you can always relate to that as an outsider. I guess an
Hmm.
outsider, maybe
Yeah.
if you look at it that way.
I
Although
was, yeah,
although
I
where
was
I
like
grew
the,
up in
so
my
good.
community, I mean, it was pretty heavy Mexican
Yeah,
Americans. So I was. It's not like we were the
yeah.
brown sheep of the neighborhood. I mean, you know what I mean?
We were, and so that's when I say that it was like almost like the immigrant story. You're going in, and I mean, I recall moving into Central Texas from the border, and we were the only Mexican family. There were a lot of viejitos, a lot of retired
Wow.
viejitos, right? And so we were the only, and so we were the black sheep, and so we were just a bunch of odd, we 3 kids, mom stayed and babysat other kids, and
Yeah.
my dad was a teacher, and so it felt we were loud, we had chickens in our backyard, and so it was crazy, completely. And I had, you connect with those characters, but
You guys were the Addams family because you
the,
had weird creatures in the house. You ate weird food. You
yeah.
had weird customs. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
the menudo. Then we had that we had a rabbit who used to run away and eat the neighbor's garden, and cops being called because the roosters, 5 in the morning.
wow. That sounds like an Addams family episode. That's hilarious. That's funny. That's interesting. Yeah.
Living out, but and so my question to you is, which genre of horror really drives you? I mean, really speaks to you as being so. I mean, it's so broad, right? I mean, you go into the
Yes.
fun loving to some of the dark, maybe the paranormal, even the creature feature. I would even add some of the international horror hotspots, Korea, Japan, even Mexican films,
Mexico. Yeah.
right? And as well as even I would even put kaiju there because it's
Oh, okay.
originally
Well,
that's
yeah.
where,
There's your field there, Kaiju.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't have a favorite horror like genre. Like, what's my favorite one? I mean, yeah, because they're all different, and there's all good stuff in each one, and there's some stuff that's very mediocre. Um, I mean, I'm always interested in like a good like demon possession movie. Like those
Yeah,
always interest me. Like a new one pops up, like, oh, I gotta check that out. What's that about?
yeah.
Again, is it just another Exorcist ripoff? Because again, like I said, there's good and bad ones. Or
Mhm.
there's always ones that, okay, that's interesting little twist, or just the way it was made or something. But yeah, like a monster movie, which is big hulking monster is great, or kaiju movie. Uh, so I'm a huge Halloween fan, movie series. I'm not a big. I know a lot of people be like into every slasher film.
Yeah,
I'm not really a slasher film fanatic. It's not like I
right.
love the Halloween because it's a slasher film. It is, but it's something about the character dynamic. Michael Myers,
Okay.
Jamie. I'll say Jamie Summers. That's the bionic woman. Oh my god, I forgot her name. Um, the
Jamie Lee
heroine,
Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, but I forgot her character's name. Anyway,
Oh,
and then the
maybe in
original
the
Doc.
comments here, folks can.
What is it?
Maybe the folks that are watching can comment, and
Yes, someone
there we go.
save me here. I'm embarrassing myself. Just the dynamic between her and Michael Myers, and then the original Dr. Loomis, Donald
Yeah.
Pleasance from the old films. So there's that variant, the way he looks, that iconic blue suit, white
What's with
mask.
that dynamic? Do you feel just because it's so black and white? There's no in between, or
Of the three of them.
yeah, it's just of Michael Myers being like you said, like a black hole of evil. It's just
Well, it's the whole thing. It's the original two films with the Dr. Loomis. How Michael was a regular 6-year-old boy, and one night he just snapped and killed his sister. Right, and it was a regular home. The parents came home from whatever, and then they put him in the institution, and the doctor is like, he realized he can never reach him, and he knew he was evil. Like the kid never spoke, and it's like this obsession it's like the doctor almost went mad, but he was right the whole time. No one believed him. Oh, come on, he's not doing anything. He's been quiet for 10 years, and then he breaks out one day and he goes back to
yeah,
Henry and kills people. but like the doctor, it's like that obsession that the doctor had, Dr. Loomis. Like the film is almost really about, could either be about Michael, could be about Jamie Lee Curtis, or it could be
Right.
about Dr. Loomis. And it's just that upset. The fact that he's just like, he's Michael's doctor, and the prescription he has got to be a gun, because
Yeah.
nothing else worked at that point. He could never reach him. He could never rehabilitate him. It's almost like Michael's on this time clock. He killed at 6. He
Right.
shuts down till he's 21, and something wakes him up, and then he goes out and kills it. So that's, to me, is very fascinating. And of course,
Right.
that first film, John Carpenter, and I can do a whole show.
Do you have any aspects of that within your comics?
Boy, it's a good question, but no, I don't see anything. I don't. It'd
Right.
be great if some fan would say, "Well, when I read this part, it reminded me of that." I mean, I love John
Subconsciously, or
yeah, exactly. Subconsciously, I'm not responsible for it, right? Because that's our subconscious doing it. I mean, I love John Carpenter as a filmmaker.
oh yeah, I was same
His
here.
storytelling,
Uh huh.
his compositions, the way he writes characters,
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah, I love Prince of Darkness. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's a good demon movie. Like a little bit different.
Yeah, because since we're surrounded by just grounded facts, we try to rationalize things, and so I love the dynamics between the university professors, the science, trying
Yes,
to bring reason and facts into something that is completely outworldly, and something that is rooted into even spirituality, even as well.
that Prince of Darkness film. I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, you're right. It's a great team up. In fact, Donald Pleasance plays the priest in that film,
Yeah.
and then there's this real cool guy plays, like you say, a physicist or something.
Yeah.
And they basically have to team up. You have to have
Mhm.
science and religion have to team up, because there's this ancient devil in that jar, that
Yep.
green liquid.
Yep. Yeah.
So I love those two characters together. They're old friends, and it shows you that science and religion can be friends.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to be, I don't know, it's either one or the other. Seems like something. Maybe I guess I got to stay off Twitter more often, but everything is just so like everything has to.
Yeah, I mean, as a creator, as a writer, I feel that there's a lot more. That relationship is really interesting, right? And it cannot be folks that just see one or the other. I don't think they're not seeing the complete picture. My opinion.
Right. So, one thing I don't know why I want to put it out there, but so I'm not that big of a zombie fanatic fan, right? Yeah, I do Alberto the Aztec Zombie.
Yeah.
That's one genre in the last 20 years. It's just to me. Sorry, I know there's millions.
No, George Romero fans are angry right now.
Yeah. Well, I love the original ones, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the commentary.
Outside of him, there's 100 other zombie films, and it becomes just like, okay, again, another zombie film, but I guess there's hundreds of vampire films and hundreds of werewolf films, and
yeah. We got Ricardo Villa says Jamie Lee Curtis plays Laurie Strode.
Laurie Strode.
Laurie Strode.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Yeah. And Javier Hernandez, Maniac Priest. Yay.
Oh yeah.
And so I want more Maniac Priest myself, because I remember growing up watching Charles Bronson, and my mom being a big Charles Bronson fan, and
the Maniac Priest comic. Thank you, Bobby Hernandez, the newly minted co-director of Latino Comics Expo. My hand picks a successor. Maniac Priest is a comic I did a couple of years ago. It's basically a supernatural version of Death Wish. Charles Bronson, Hector just mentioned Charles Bronson Death Wish movies. I love those. Growing up, watching those as a young adult. Vigilante, New York.
Yeah, original Vigilante there.
Yeah, that's right. The guy inspired, I think, Bernard Getz, but people look that up. And it came out before The Punisher, I believe. I think. Anyway, Maniac Priest, it's my version of that, but it's a supernatural. So it's basically this young priest who he turns into this maniac priest, this big hulking, scarred up, kind of looks like Linda Blair when she was all made up as demon possessed young girl. The face is split up. and red
Mhm.
eyes. It's this supernatural vigilante where he brings like Old Testament style of justice to like the worst criminals in LA, and it takes place in the mid 80s because I had to give it that Death Wish era. So it
Yeah.
takes place in 85 Los Angeles, where, like most places, crime was way more out of control. You know, things were just more dirtier and grimier everywhere, corruption. And so I only did one issue, it was like 4 short stories in there. I want to get back to it, but it allowed me to really go horror and violent. And in fact, the book was, it's not rated R, it's just mature adults, but
Mhm.
it is a rated R book. And I got to tell you, Hector, drawing the images, like, where he's killing the bad guys and the language that the people are using
Yeah.
in the book. I won't repeat it here, but I felt like, and you're a teacher, like I was talking out of class. I was being a bad boy because I'm writing rated R material, but it was meant to be. The book had to be that. Um,
Right. Yeah.
but it's like, wow, this will surprise some of my fans. I've never used that language in a book or those images. So people can find that actually. It's on Amazon. Go look up Maniac Priest, Javier Hernandez, and you can order the book. And 18 and over, please.
Yeah. You
But
can also order from Los Comics, right? Your site.
yeah, you know what? I don't think I have it in stock at the moment, but
Okay.
just Amazon. Just go to Amazon, folks, and order El Muerto while you're there. But yeah, that was my attempt to do a horror, but also like one of those Death Wish vigilante books. Um,
Nice. Was it, and like you said, it was challenging for you to uh, write those horror elements,
yeah,
and
yeah,
as well as the actual art, right? Because I remember there being, it wasn't gory, but there was, I mean, you you had some blood.
Jack was trying to watch his words for the morning crowd here. No, well, so he kills them. He kills, he executes them. So whether it's he hangs one or he shoots him, or I think one he torches. He
Yeah.
literally puts him on. He runs around with a flamethrower gun. That's what it was.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah, that's right. That's
he
right.
incinerates them.
Cool.
I mean, it's very biblical too. That's the whole point. It's you know, burn in
Yeah.
hell.
Right.
Um, so
That's
so the young priest is tortured. He doesn't know why he becomes that. And what happened was his sister and her niece were killed at one point. So he was very upset, obviously, and he walks into the church and he's yelling at the altar, yelling at God that this is not fair. She shouldn't have died. How could you do something like that? And then the implication in the storytelling is God turned him into this kind of like the Incredible Hulk,
right.
Bruce Banner, but he turns into Maniac Priest, and he turns back into the the young priest.
Nice.
So I love tortured heroes too. That's the other
Mhm.
thing. Yeah, like
Yeah,
the
that
Hulk,
was
the
wonderful.
old Hulk TV show with
Yeah.
Bill Bixby. I
Uh-huh.
loved that as a kid. Like I don't know, I just love tortured characters. Maybe it's the Catholic guilt in me or something.
Right. It kind of grounds them, them being humble into something, knowing there's something greater than themselves, even they're oh, super powered or powered.
Yeah,
I would
or
say,
like I said, tortured. He doesn't know why he
yeah.
does that. He doesn't know why he's the instrument of God. Why he does that, but
Well,
so
Javi, let me bring note to one of your latest projects. You don't know Ditko,
oh, there she
right?
comes.
So you recently launched successfully, amazing, um, a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo, and so can you talk to us a little bit about your love for Steve Ditko? I know that's very
Yeah, Steve Ditko. So one of the great classic American comic book artists. Most people will know him because he was the co-creator, original artist, designer of Spider-Man. I know people heard of Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure.
Marvel.
Um, yeah, costume design, everything, all the supporting cast, all the villains that came from the man's hand, his pencil. Um, so yeah, as a kid, I was always a big fan of all the comics, but again, Spider-Man attracted me a lot. Again, I hate to say, I don't hate to say it, but bring it up again.
Yeah.
Something about Peter Parker seemed very Mexican, like the media hated him, Jonah Jameson. The police were always after him. He was always broke. He had to support his poor little tia. Aunt May.
Right.
Um, yeah, so that appealed to me a lot. But the character was great. You know, Stan Lee did the writing, Ditko did the art, and all the storytelling and such. So yeah, I've always been a fan of Ditko, even to the decades, and he's went on to other projects. So this you don't know Ditko zine that Hector was showing us. I put it together this year. It's I did an earlier one a few years ago, a smaller one, but I made this larger format one. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you got this. Yeah, you got the smaller one too.
There we go.
I did the new one. It's double size, double pages, more articles and such. I just wanted to celebrate the man's work, and really, I did it originally, even the first one, as a primer because I know with the Doctor Strange movie at the time, like okay,
Yeah.
people are going to be hearing about this Ditko guy on the news or when they read about these Spider-Man movies, Doctor Strange. I want people to know he's got a bigger career than just those two characters, which are amazing. And you know, Spider-Man's probably one of the top three comic book characters of all time. So that's not a
Hmm.
bad feather in your cap, Mr. Ditko. But I wanted people to realize, hey, he has a whole 60-year career starting from the mid 50s all the way till he passed away in 2018. He still had probably had a comic book on his table he was working on.
Yeah.
So just want people to know about his full career.
Yeah. Very private creator as well, right?
The thing, different things get said about him, recluse and this and that. But yeah, he was private. He didn't have a he wouldn't appear on your show or my show or our convention. He didn't do conventions. He didn't do interviews, but people would write him. They'd write him over the decades and send letters. And so it's like the famous Ditko letters. People send him a letter, he writes back normally because you figure if it was a recluse, he'd throw all the mail away, right? I don't want to
Right.
talk to people. He just chose to speak through letters, not showing up at conventions and
Yeah.
appearing in cameos in movies and all this other stuff that we all like to do. Um,
Well, there's something respectful for that as well.
yeah, yeah. In this modern era, because we all use social network. I live
Yeah.
through that as far as my work. You know, I need it. But I admire someone who can, in the 21st century, shunned all that. Like, you know what? I don't need that. I don't need to have a TikTok or a social network, or
Yeah.
I don't have to go to a show and set up a table and sell my stuff. He just does his books, sends them off to his co-publisher, Robin Snyder, the last 30 years. The book gets printed, and then
Right.
Ditko goes on the next book. It's not the way I do my thing, but I respect that someone in the world could do that. And this happens to be the co-creator of Spider-Man too.
Yeah.
But that that's what boggles the mind. Like he didn't get
Right.
consumed by um, being the
Yeah.
co-creator of Spider-Man.
Yeah. Especially with ever since the first successful series, early 2000s, the Sam
Oh yeah,
Raimi,
my
and
favorites, by the way, my favorites.
are you gonna watch Far From Home?
I am because it's got Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. I didn't see the last two. Like
Right.
Tony Stark Jr. is not my idea of Spider-Man, but this one, okay, you got Doctor Strange and Spidey. You got Ditko's two Marvel characters in there.
Yeah.
I will check that out. And I'm curious about the next Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I'm kind of curious what they're going to bring in for that. So
Yeah, I am very intrigued on what are they gonna bring from their back catalog, right?
exactly,
From
because you say
everything.
multiverse.
Yeah, everything is on the table. I mean,
I want to see the Electric Company Spider-Man show up in
there
the.
you go. I want to see the Japanese
Oh, of course, yeah.
Tokatsu,
Of
Stanley, Spider-Man,
of
right?
course, the Japanese Spider with the giant
Spider-Man.
robot. Yeah,
There was
that's
the
fun.
mercenary. Was it the mercenary? No, it's the mercenary evil. Oh, no, what's it? What's the thing he calls himself? Oh my gosh. Anyways, uh, it, but Javi, we're gonna have to let you go, brother.
Oh
It's
wow,
been
cool.
an amazing time. And thank you so much for sharing your love for Go. Check it out. I set the link for Los Comics for if you want to get yourself a copy. Go to Amazon. I just noticed Maniac Priest. Let me see if I can share that link right now for you guys. So get the in follow. Yeah, just go to Amazon. There's copies of Maniac Priest there, More El Muerto. And so and what's upcoming for El Muerto? Just real quick.
So I'm working on the second graphic novel, which last year I did a preview, like the first 26 pages. It's called El Muerto Casa del Diablo. So I'm finishing up the thing. So it'll be a full 120-page graphic novel. I'm looking at the spring, the way things are going, to release book 2 in the what's supposed to be a 10-volume series. So my it's gonna be my 1,000-page epic of El Muerto, the life and times of Diego de la
Nice.
Muerte. So
So
I'll be back
check.
to share more about those hopefully in the years to come.
And one more question. I know that this is going to be hard. Favorite horror movie?
I'm gonna do 1 and 2, or
All
maybe they're
right.
both number 1.
Yeah.
And these are the original versions:
Okay.
The Exorcist and Halloween.
There you go.
The
There you
70s,
go,
man.
ladies
They
and
knew how to
gentlemen.
make horror films back then, people.
There you go. No bounds.
And The Omen, the original one, if I can put a
There,
third one.
there you go. Three-way tie.
All the
All right.
devils and
Right.
slashers you want. in those
You
three
can see a lot of that inspiration in his writing. All right, Javi. Un placer. Been a pleasure, brother.
Thank you, Hector. Fans, stay tuned. They got a whole day of programming. This is only the beginning. So please support Texas Latino Comic Con. And Hector, I'll see you sometime in the future. Thanks.
See you on the road, brother.
Bye-bye.
Adios.